Okay, let's talk to Germany. Radoslav Albrecht, can you come up? Here? And that was very, very interesting. I talked to the CFO of Bitbond, and you have everything. You have the microphone and.
Supposed to take this one?
Yes, and here's your thing.
Thank you.
So. I talked to your CFO, and he came from the banking world, right? I mean,
correct, that's correct.
Yeah, and I invited him to talk, and he says, no, the CEO wants to come. So, but he was really, he came from the banking world, and he says, hey, we also have a regulator from Germany, which of course is much more difficult, and we are now putting bonds on the blockchain. We have STOs. And in order to raise capital. And he's also a lending platform, so he's very fintech, and he's a blockchain, a fantastic combination from Berlin. Thank you very much, and I'm very curious to your story. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. So I'm Radoslav Albrecht, I'm the founder and CEO of Bitbond, and today I want to tell you a bit about what is our core business at Bitbond, so what do we actually do, and then I want to tell you about our security token offering, which we recently launched. So first of all, what is Bitbond? Bitbond is the first ever global SME lending platform. That means that we provide working capital financing to small and medium-sized enterprises, primarily focusing on the small ones that have a really hard time to get the funding they need to grow their business from banks. Banks and other lenders are mostly ignoring SMEs simply due to the size and due to the inefficient processes that banks have primarily in the credit scoring process. So this problem that we're solving for the SMEs is really access to capital on the one hand, because most of them really have a hard time to get funding. But at the same time also, some of the SMEs do get access to funding, but it takes way too long. When a bank does look at the loan application of an SME, they can easily take 5 to 6 weeks until the loan is approved and paid out. And so these are the problems that we want to solve for them. And the way we do that is by providing SMEs with working capital financing up to 50,000 euros. And we utilize technologies in order to make the process really efficient. For payment processing, we're using blockchain technologies. When we started out, it was primarily Bitcoin as a payment rails, but until today we have switched most of the payment volume to the Stellar blockchain, which we find to be most efficient for payment use cases. For our credit scoring, we use machine learning technologies because, as I said, it's really important to the SMEs to get a quick approval, and we can approve as quickly as in 30 minutes if all the data is present, but normally within 24 hours, every applicant receives a credit decision. And this is one of the things that the SMEs that apply for a loan through our platform actually appreciate the most. So this was the borrower side. By the way, Bitbond is also a regulated financial institution. So unlike a lot of other fintechs, we don't operate under the license of a bank or of another financial institution, but in fact we received our own license from BaFin, which is the German financial regulator. Now, what problem do we want to solve for the investors, and mainly for the investors who invest into the STO? Lending obviously is a fixed income product, and the returns for fixed income investments, especially for retail investors, over the last couple of years have been really small due to the low interest rate environment. So that's one pretty obvious problem that has to be solved. And then the second one is there are investments in the fixed income space that have a higher yield than fixed term deposits, for example. But a lot of times they are illiquid, and they are typically only accessible to a relatively small number of investors. And retail investors, for example, typically can't access higher yielding, more illiquid assets. And so this is something that we want to solve, and we want to provide a really, really better investing experience and investment product. And so one of the things obviously is the yield. So the investment product that we created has the SME loans that we facilitate on our platform as an underlying asset. The target return with the SME loans is around about 7 to 8%. And so this is obviously significantly more than what you can normally get from your bank deposit, for example. And the second part in creating a superior investment that was important to us is that it is a real security. Securities have a lot of advantages. One of the main ones is that all of them follow a standard procedure in the prospectus where the risks and the opportunities and the rights of investors are documented in a highly standardized way. And essentially, securities provide a trusted legal framework. The securities regulation across the EU is harmonized. So while we did a prospectus under German regulation, since it is harmonized, it's the same standard across the EU. And the third aspect that is really important is liquidity and transferability. And there are probably no other digital assets that are more fungible and more easily transferable than digital tokens that are based on blockchains. And so this is the approach how to create an asset that on the one hand has a high yield, on the other hand is a real security, and at the same time is really fungible. And so that led us to create Germany's first security token offering. So what kind of product is this security actually? The BB1 token, as we call it. With the BB1 token, we believe we are reinventing bonds because we make a lot of things different than other bond offerings. And so this is exactly what we're replacing. With a conventional bond offering, in the old days, you used to have a paper document that documents your proof of ownership in a deed. And you have your coupon payments. So with each of these coupon payments, you would normally go to a bank, give them the little coupon document, and then receive the cash for it as the interest payment. And even though today everything is electronic, the underlying logic of the technology that banks and issuers are using is still very similar to this actual paper document. And so we're replacing this paper document of the deed with a digital token. So that's what the BB1 bond is. So first of all, it's paying a higher interest than a lot of other fixed income products. We pay a 4% fixed annual coupon. Plus, additionally to that, we pay a success-based coupon, which is 60% of the profits of the investments into the SME loans that we're doing. So really, the bondholders have an exposure to a diversified portfolio of SME loans. Then it's got an approved securities prospectus. So we filed a prospectus for a bond with the regulator, and this has been approved. And the third part is that it's extremely fungible and transferable because the proof of ownership in the BB1 token does not happen through a paper-based document, but it's purely a digital token. And we don't even have both things, but it's really just a token. And this was one of the revolutionary things that we achieved, that the regulator has approved this. Because before we filed our prospectus, there were around about 130 other companies in Germany who were applying to get a prospectus for a security token approved, but all of them were rejected. Final remark that is important. So far I was speaking about the investor's perspective. As an issuer, we also leverage a lot of efficiency gains by doing a security token offering. Mainly the 4 green boxes represent what are the efficiency gains for us as an issuer. One thing that's really important is that we have a global checkout that we did in a self-managed way. So we don't need a bank where the customer would go and invest into the bond, but it's everything happening on our website. Then there's no custodian or no bank involved for the storage because it's a digital token that everybody has in their own wallet. Exchange and settlement is going a lot quicker and with potentially a lot more liquidity than with a conventional offering. So those are the main details about the offering. So far it has received tremendous feedback from the press, from the general public, because nobody expected to become one of the first STOs in Europe from Germany. We ourselves for a long time weren't sure whether we could actually make it happen. But we did, and we're really happy about that. And yeah, I'll be here for the rest of the day, and I'm very happy to take questions, or if some are coming now, also very happy to talk about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. The first German-approved STO. Well, I didn't believe it when I first heard it. I thought, wow, that must come from Lithuania or from Estonia or from whatever, but it came from Germany. So how was that process? How were you able to convince the regulator that you were basically acceptable?
So I think there are two things that are important. First of all, Bitbond is a regulated financial institution, so we have a pretty deep understanding of how the regulator works and what normally are their concerns and their views on new types of financial services.
Yeah.
And the other point is that when we decided to launch an STO, we didn't draft the prospectus and submitted it for approval, because then in Germany the regulator has only 20 business days to give feedback on that. But what we did is we presented them with a general concept and asked for feedback before we submitted the actual prospectus. So we gave them more time, and I think that was quite important.
Okay. Here's a simple question for payments. Can you only use blockchain? I think you can pay with fiat, right? I mean, you have
If you want to buy the token in the primary offering, which goes until the 8th of July, by the way, then you can also pay with wire transfer or with Bitcoin, Ether, and Stellar.
Okay, but I can also pay with euro and with
Yes,
other...
yeah, we also accept fiat payments, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is the normal question which you always get. It sounds as better returns and more efficient at lower risk. What's the catch?
Well, the catch is that we make it accessible, and that's not a catch, but that's sort of the improvement that we make in order to deliver that kind of investment, right?
Yeah, and you charge a lot of money to the SMEs. Eh? These SMEs, they have to pay in about...
Yeah, so the interest rates on our platform range from 10 to 35%, depending on the country, on the risk of the borrower. But obviously, it's an asset class that has a bit of a higher risk than government bonds, for example, or corporate bonds of larger corporates.
Oh, wait until the interests go up and look what the Greek and the Spanish and the Italian bonds are doing.
That is true. That is true. That's a big topic on its own, right?
Yeah, no, we don't need to talk about it. Yeah, okay. Hey, the SMEs, how are they finding you? I mean, you are basically, you already were a lender. This is just to raise more capital. How are they finding you in general? Because Marlene was saying, go to the bank, you know, your favorite bank, and we do it there. And actually, we also have lending platforms which are working together with traditional banks, but you don't do that. You say, you can do it all from my website.
Well, so there's multiple ways how we acquire our customers. On the one hand, they learn about us through the internet, through Google search, but we also have a lot of partnerships with e-commerce platforms, for example, who want to make sure that the sellers on their platform get access to working capital financing. Yeah. And we recently actually just started our first banking partnership with Fido Bank in Germany.
I know the banks. I know the they come up somewhere. Okay, hey, KYC.
But they don't do the lending themselves, so they send the customers to us.
Because that's the same. Knopbank does the same in Holland. They have a platform, you know, with Marlene, I think, and they basically do the acquiring, but this is way too expensive for them to deal with those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, KYC, how do you do that?
So KYC, we have to do it according to German AML and KYC standards, which means that our customers, all of our customers, have to go through a video session where they show their ID and where they answer certain questions. Yeah. And we do it in-house, and we will also work with a third party who does that for us. And depending on what kind of customer it is, in Germany,
did you create the technology, or is it third-party technology who does that video identifying if
you're a live person? Well, when we do it in-house, we rely on own technology. When it's outsourced, and about 80% of our identification procedures go through the third party, and then they have their own technology stack.
What's the cost of a KYC process nowadays? $10?
For the outsourced part, it's around about €6.
€6. That's a good, approved, regulator-approved KYC, $6 nowadays. Just as a service, okay. This is a sophisticated question. Is there already a secondary market for this token?
So we will be announcing an exchange listing very soon. Okay. So sign up for the STO and you will get a newsletter. We actually signed agreements.
I can get the newsletter without signing up, right? Or what's the minimum amount of money that I need?
€1.
Okay, well, okay. I would say let's all do that. Then you can be part of an STO for $1. And that's when do you accept Ideal?
I think there's no excuse with the minimum investment, right?
Do you accept Ideal?
No, we don't. No. It's either a regular wire transfer or cryptocurrencies.
Oh, cryptocurrency, okay. One last question. How do you handle defaults?
So we have I could talk for hours about this.
No.
The short answer is
you're doing good.
We have a pretty sophisticated and automated collection process where the moment a loan defaults, which is defined as 90 days without a payment, we start a legal collections process. In the EU, it's highly standardized. There's an instrument that's called the European Payment Order. And with that, we can go even up to an account seizure of the borrower. So and it's essentially, we took all the legal measures that are possible we are taking.
Okay. So listen to Marlene, the one in front of you, making white label, making all the banks just flexible. You're already working now with banks. See what what you're doing next year. Thank you very much for coming from Germany, and good luck with your first German-approved STO.
Thank you very much.